Hello, Primals. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about calming down after narcissistic abuse and following Jesus. Now, I understand that some people may not see the correlation between the two in the title with the calming down and then the following Jesus, but I assure you that there will be a connection. And what I want to talk about first is understanding what exactly it means to calm down. So here we have the human nervous system, and there's two types of nervous systems in the body. There's the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is best to think about it as the fight or flight response, right, to the nervous system and to the organism. The parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for relaxation and just taking it easy. It's basically like when you're relaxing, the parasympathetic nervous system is on. But when you're living solely for the flesh, that's where your sympathetic nervous system is going to be on high alert. Now, something that has come to my attention over the past little while is that a lot of people don't really understand why they have these feelings after narcissistic abuse. Like, why can't I calm down? And I know that's something that I thought about too, is like, because I realized even after years after I left the narcissist, I would still have like these programs that are still going on in my mind where I realized that I was being conditioned to attack my own nervous system, and I was being conditioned to feel guilty for trusting my instincts. Now that is a sign of the sympathetic nervous system here being turned on. And did I say the parasympathetic nervous system or the sympathetic? The sympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system was always on for me. And it was so catastrophic to my well-being that it really hindered my own thought process on how I operate in the world as a whole. And the best thing that I can recommend for anybody that is like, I cannot calm down, like I'm still, even if you've left the narcissist or the narcissist is still maybe in the other room or something, like if you still live with the narcissist and you're just trying to figure out how to get out of the relationship, trying to calm down around a narcissist is like trying to calm down when you throw yourself into a chicken coop. Like there's no calming down when you're surrounded by a bunch of chickens and they're just, they're just doing their thing, and there's going to be poop everywhere you step. There's just, it's going to smell bad. It's not good. Like, it's not good. You're going to feel like you're claustrophobic in that space as well, no matter what you do. At least that's the way that I think about it. Is this is something that I realized when I was around the narcissist before, was that it was as if the walls were like jello and the floor was like quicksand. Everywhere I stepped around the narcissist, I would just sink. Like my whole being and my whole spirit would just sink. And it wasn't until I got to the no contact point with the narcissist, and either that or I started creating and maintaining healthy boundaries, that I really started to sink more into my parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system, one way to increase your parasympathetic nervous system is to meditate. Meditation it's the best way to think about it is that it's like a pull-up for the brain. Now, obviously, when you start out with any kind of exercise, you're likely not going to be very successful. However, through time, consistency, which I think is the biggest thing, and effort, that's where you really get to a point to where you'll start to see the benefits just manifest themselves before you. And the sympathetic nervous system, this is another way to help the parasympathetic nervous system turn on, is that doing physical activity. So constantly or consciously putting effort into turning on the sympathetic nervous system, which means to stimulate your heartbeat or stimulate your heart rate and increase the amount of physical activity that you're getting, is going to help a lot in the long run as well. Because when you're done exercising, that's when your parasympathetic nervous system can come on and start to process all of the nutrients that you're using, and then also help build up the muscles a little bit better as well. So the narcissist's goal is to make sure your sympathetic nervous system is always, sorry about that, to always on. It's always on. Because if you can have a fight or flight response against your own internal ecosystem, then you're never going to leave the narcissist. And you're always going to be a supply for the narcissist. So really what it comes down to is understanding the value of no contact, healthy boundaries, meditation, exercise, eating well, and also just living a life that you want to live. Because I would hope you don't want to walk around with walls like Jello and floor like quicksand. I highly don't recommend it. It was not fun. And I remember thinking like, there's just something I'm doing wrong here. There's got to be a better way to live my life. There's got to be a better way, even though it might be more difficult, because at the time, with one of the narcissists that I was in contact with, I wasn't necessarily financially dependent on them. However, my finances were affected by the narcissist's presence in my life. So it was very, the financial aspect was one of the most difficult things that kind of turned on my sympathetic nervous system. Looking back, I didn't know what that was like, what it was, but that's really what it came down to. And the parasympathetic nervous system was nowhere I read somewhere that a healthy nervous system would have 80% parasympathetic nervous system turned on most of the time, and then 20% with the sympathetic nervous system. Because the sympathetic nervous system has a lot of benefits, including reproduction, like I mentioned before, exercising, and making sure that your urinary tract is healthy, all that fun stuff. So drinking water is a side benefit for the sympathetic nervous system as well. But when I realized that drinking water, eating healthy, lifting weights, going no contact was actually helping me more than hurting me, as difficult as it was to leave that financial situation, it totally helped me in the long run. So what I want to encourage people is that if you're financially dependent on the narcissist in your life, that means that your sympathetic nervous system is going to be on even higher, and there's going to just cause more stress in your life. Your shoulders are probably going to be tense. Your back might be achy. You might have a sore neck a lot. You might get headaches a lot. There's a lot of different side effects of being around a narcissist, because they really, truly make your soul sick. they need that supply from you. They need your life force, right? This is something that I've mentioned in another video a while back, is that they want your life force. They do not understand the glory of God. And I mean that with fundamental sincerity. Speaking of which, one way that you can also help your nervous system is through rapid eye movement therapy. Now, you don't have to do this by actually going to a therapist. It is possible to help yourself do this on your own. However, it's something that I'm not sure I would recommend as like I'm not a physical therapist, so take this with a pound of salt. But one of the ways that I recommend that you start doing after a meditation, this is something that I did to start healing, is the EMDR therapy on myself. But the reason that I did it was because I knew that the eyes are actually part of the brain. So helping you focus on your sight actually rebuilds certain kinds of neurons in the brain. So the eye movement therapy that you're doing is because a lot of times, especially with like people with narcissistic abuse that come out of it often have complex PTSD or just PTSD in general. This means that they may have PTSD and not even know it. Again, this is going back to the sympathetic nervous system is turned on all the way, and you might not even be aware of it because you've been conditioned to attack your own nervous system. So one of the ways that EMDR helps is that it helps you reconnect with your parasympathetic nervous system. And one of the ways that you can do that, and you can do that right now with me, is you stick your fingers out just like this. I'll make sure we got the video here wide. So you stick out your fingers just like this, and you follow. Let me see. Let me get sure the shot is right. So you follow your fingers side to side, and you make sure you keep your eye on the finger that's moving. Now, a lot of times people that are involved in this kind of therapy, they realize that they actually can't even keep track of their finger going side to side, or they're trying to follow it faster than the finger's actually moving. So because of like tunnel vision and rapid and hypersensitivity, all of that kind of stuff. So because after narcissistic abuse, there's a lot of hypersensitive qualities that you've taken on voluntarily, involuntarily rather. And so what this does is you can go side to side, diagonally up and down, and you may notice after you do it for about, I would say 2 to 3 minutes, you actually, in my experience, I actually felt more centered in my belly. Like I could feel like I was more with my body, and I felt like I was more connected to my body, because that's really what it's all about, right? That's really what the parasympathetic nervous system is really about, is having that, let's see here. There we go. So that's really what the parasympathetic nervous system here is about, is maintaining that connection with the body in a calm, relaxed way. So how does this relate to Jesus? Well, one thing that I've realized dealing with narcissists and just talking about narcissism in general, and having people in my life that just, like, those friends where once you start to level up in life, they realize that they underestimated you, and then they kind of don't want to be around you anymore, or they try to start like damaging your reputation, or maybe just like not supporting you in the way that you thought they would. What I realized is that that's going to happen as you level up and as you move closer to God and not to the devil and demonic like actions and behaviors, like sins, basically. The further you move away from sin, and whoever leaves sin, you're going to be triumphant in no matter what you do. Because, well, let's go further on with this scripture that I have in mind. So this is from Matthew 8:22. It says, Jesus said unto him, follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. Now, I didn't realize what I was reading at the time when I actually first read this, but now that I'm looking back, it's like, oh, people can be dead in spirit, and sometimes you're going to have to leave them and just leave them behind, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but you sometimes, like, it may be a cruel way to think about it, like about life, but if you truly understand that there are some people in this life that are just not going to be meant to be in your life for very long, because people do come and go, and that is the nature of being around people in general. That, you know, obviously you want to sustain your relationships for as long as possible, but if it is not contingent upon, if your relationship is more contingent upon the fleshly desires than it is the spiritual uplifting of humanity and of the relationship itself, the relationship is likely not going to be very good for your soul. And it's as simple as that. And so Jesus also goes on further in Matthew 9:12. It says, they that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. So those that are actually healed within their spirit and within their soul, they do not need a medicine man or a medicine person or a medicine or a shaman or anything like that, because they have already become it. And that is what I have also grown to realize, is that a lot of people are like wounded healers sometimes. Like a lot of people in narcissistic abuse relationships, a lot of people are codependent. Like I was codependent for a long time and I didn't even know it, but I always sought the validation of other people. I would always give more because I thought that's what I had to do in order to be welcomed into life. I always thought that I had to always put other people before myself. And I realized that the more I did that, it was just making me more spiritually dead. And it wasn't until I started really loving myself and really caring for who and what I bring to the table as a person that I began to see the true value and the true connection between my self-esteem and my link with God. And so with that being said, I want to encourage everybody to do their own research, and I do welcome questions. If you ever have a question, or if something I'm talking about may not resonate with you, that is totally fine. And if you want clarification, I'm totally open to that. And also, if you ever just have a topic in mind that you would like me to cover, please let me know about that as well. With that being said, I hope you all have a blessed day, and may peace be with you. Till next time.